What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Roll for Crit podcast. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler.
And this is our first installment in a couple of weeks besides our holiday episode, which was kind of a cheat episode, where we talked about our board game gift guides. This is our first time getting back into
the news.
Genuine news
So we got
articles. We got some stuff. No time to waste. We love wasting time. We can't do it today. First one is a biggie, biggie smalls. Of course, Gen Con is the biggest board game event in the world, except for maybe Essen, but you know what it is. Yeah, North America. I'd say the world, because we're Americans. And it's a huge game convention. I'm sure you know about it. I don't have to tell you about it. Well, they just announced that officially for the 2016 edition of Gen Con, they will be expanding into the Lucas Oil Stadium, which is pretty much right next door to where it's normally held in Indianapolis. So this is a huge, obviously it's the size of a football stadium, and specifically what we know so far, a number of events may be moved into there. The one we know about is they have these like living dungeon things. I forget what it's exactly called, but it's where it's like you.
I think that's perfect though.
It's like role play. Yeah, you jump through lava.
No, but the reason that's perfect is the entrance. You know how like when football teams come out through a tunnel onto the field.
Yeah.
Like that would be the entrance. You go into the tunnel, then they can build it in the field, but you go through the tunnel, so you don't really see the dungeon until you enter.
Yes, that would be cool. I do. Yeah, that would be, I could take up the entire football field by itself almost.
Oh,
if I really
easily.
Wanted to. But supposedly there are a number of things they're going to have there. But I mean, what's the most exciting thing about it to me is that means where they used to have that inside is now open. So they could possibly fit a lot more people, or if they maybe only increase the attendance, the tickets amounts a little, and make it a much easier experience in terms of breathing room and add more space and more tables for playing games. There's a whole number of things they could do.
It's really nice because I mean, even though compared to some of the other conventions, I feel like it doesn't feel as crowded. It is very crowded.
It's not San Diego Comic-Con,
right?
But it's still up there.
So it's nice. What I'm very curious about is because I believe it was this year when there was the big debacle where pretty much the owners of Gen Con said if the Indiana governor didn't do something. Right.
Well, that's like. Remember, they're still under contract in Indianapolis.
I know for 5 years. So I'm very curious, if this move, if something is
you think that indicates that
there's some more friendship.
Well, supposedly didn't their law actually get revoked?
That's why I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe it did. Yeah,
so I think this is probably also a good sign that
it means they're there.
An olive branch has been extended.
Yeah,
I think it's great that's staying there. I personally love the area it's in.
Oh yeah,
I think it's very nice. So. And of course, any convention, more room is always better.
For sure.
I mean, I know how you and I both been saying at least that the New York Comic Con needs some more breathing room.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's like
fortunately it's not next to the stadium.
A third of the size of of Indianapolis ones. Yeah, so looking forward to that. It should be really cool to see.
You know what would be also interesting they could do?
Please.
Is in either area, as you remember how they have that whole area where all the food trucks are outside though, and also the Gen Con beer. Mm-hmm. If maybe they could actually make an area that's more like they can get places this is a bunch of small Gen Con restaurants to actually set up inside the football stadium or something, just a little food row.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be pretty cool. If there was actually then not just this was Canton and had a lamb meal. They actually made.
Now you're thinking.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I wonder, will they put a tarp over the top? Probably not.
Well, I know many football stadiums are able to really convert and mess around. There's some that are baseball, they can go into football, they can go into soccer. So, and some go into basketball stadiums.
Turn into trucks.
Almost. So. This is a transform. It's not a strange thing to happen to a football stadium. So I don't have any fears of will it be AstroTurf?
You won't. Yeah, well, you won't be why are there score markers all over them? Why did someone just tackle me? I'm trying to play games.
No, I don't think we're gonna. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be too much of an issue there.
Yeah, so that should be cool. We always see it every year too. It's just right there. Wonder what's in there.
No,
I guess sports.
No, I think most people are sports.
Yeah, it's like the two rival summer camps should be having a epic relay race together.
That won't end well. That will not.
I don't know. We got some good tricks up our sleeves. That's a story for another day.
Dice.
Yeah.
It's like caltrops or something.
Yeah. So that's the big real world board game news. We have some fake world board game news.
What?
First, a digital board game not based on an existing board game that is coming soon to the PlayStation 4 exclusively, as far as we know. This is coming out in early January or mid-January, so you don't have to wait too long. It's called Tharsis, and it's from Gaijin Games. This is actually the guys who published the Bit Trip series on the Wii and other
you've
stuff
loved
on
those.
Steam. Yeah, they're rhythm games. This is completely different.
Right.
This, as I said, is a board game. It's really, well, it's interesting. It's a sort of a turn-based strategy game, but there are dice in it, and it's a sci-fi setting where basically you got stranded. Your ship is messed up, your crew is dying, and you have to manage resources and make choices like surviving in terms of oxygen and food. And there's the option to eat your fellow passengers.
Can I ford a river?
You may or may not be able to ford a river. Depends on how much money you have. Rivers are expensive. That was a little joke, like I said a different word. So I think this is kind of the reason I think this is interesting. I'm a fan of that company, but also the fact that I almost feel like it's a little bit of board games eating their own tails, or video games eating the head of the board game snake. Where
okay, I'm a little confused.
Like
here.
dice exist because they represent
The background numbers in a video
that
game.
you can't do in real life. So now you have video games using dice to do that in a place when it's not necessary, just as like a flavor thing.
Well,
It's an interesting.
yes, but do you remember? I don't know if you bought it. I know I did. I think it was called
Crimson Shroud.
Yes.
Shroud or something.
It was a part of the what do they call it? The Guild series.
Yeah, 3DS downloadable title.
In which it was pretty much Dungeons and Dragons. You played as characters going through a story, but the thing is, all the characters were figures, and you'd actually see them move along as figures.
Right.
And the fight, you do spells and stuff, but you'd actually roll dice to see what you do.
Well, what's in that case, it was all about being like a tabletop RPG, whereas this is really it's a sci-fi adventure thing. It's a little different, but I don't know. Still, I mean, and they refer to it as like they reference board games, like it's definitely inspired by that. So I'm curious to see what it's like. I hope it'll be cool, and I don't know if we're gonna see more
as long
games
as
with dice in them.
Yeah, no, as long as we can't die dysentery.
I still don't know if that can happen. It could. Why are we referencing Oregon Trail?
Because pretty much when you described it, pretty much sounded to me like Space Oregon Trail with dice.
I don't think you're going anywhere. I think you're stuck in a ship dying. I could be wrong, though. But that's called Tharsis. And I think January 12th is the release date. PS4 only, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came out in PC later or something like that. And then we go from that to a digital game that is now becoming a board game. So it all comes full circle. This game is called This War of Mine. I don't know if it's a Steam game. I haven't and played it. That's really the only reason I'm really talking about it is because I've actually played it. And it's basically, I think it's like, I want to say post-apocalypse kind of game, where you're managing a house. It's you and a few other survivors. And during the day, you have to build things and increase your food supply, water supply, building better beds and parts. And at night, you go out to other people's homes, and you can or like abandoned shopping malls and stuff and grocery stores and ransack for medicine and things like that. And it's a real-time strategy game sort of, but it's side two-dimensional view. You see the video behind us. And
I think I've seen this.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty good game, and there's also like moral choices in it. Well, the board game is announced, and there's some really interesting things going on in it. First of all, it's from one of the designers is the guy who did Neuroshima Hex and Theseus. So good.
Theseus, that's the alien one we played, right?
Correct.
I just want to make sure. Yeah. So.
And it goes from, I believe, 1 to 6 players. There's a solo mode, which makes sense because the game was only a single-player game. But they also have this thing where apparently you don't have to, I forget what term they use, like instant setup or something. You don't have to read the rule book to start playing. That's what they claim.
If I had glasses now, I'd be going.
And this is going to be a Kickstarter next year. We don't have any real details about the gameplay yet. But that's what they said, is that you'll be able to start playing, take it out of the box, and you won't have to read a word, and you'll be ready to go. And I don't know how that's going to work. Any thoughts?
I don't.
How can that work in any game?
Well, the problem is, these are the ways I can think it could work. One, they expect that you've played a bunch of other games or some stories and something, which unfortunately usually means if you assume that for a general populace, it's going to be very basic, which is a very bad sign. But we haven't played Neuroshima Hex, but we have played Theseus, and it is not basic.
No, it's not.
So I don't think that's a likely ability. I think what it will most likely draw on, judging by the actual story of it, will pull more on almost like more story aspects. Like, you know how Sherlock Holmes, there are rules, but really we got the general idea. You knew you could just read the story and you just ask questions and. Like, so I'm guessing it's definitely going to play more on the moral and story choice instead of, like, you know how Dead of Winter really is much more of a...
Which also kind of sounds like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can easily see them using a system like that.
I am very curious about this game, both the video game and the board game, because it sounds similar to... I heard a suggestion before, a while ago. I don't know if board games have this issue as much.
Okay.
But if you know, video games have a big issue involving gender with male and female, but while there is a lot of female gamers, they're playing a different kind of games that don't usually appear on the consoles.
Right.
And someone suggested that it really isn't an issue. You can put both of them together. Like one of the popular games is the, like a big image and find all the small things, sort of like I Spy.
Right.
And which someone suggested, which sounds almost a lot like this, in which during the day you would do those things, in which you're actually like in a zombie apocalypse, so you have to find supplies like that. Using that kind of game style.
So you're saying that you think this game can help bridge the gender gap, or what?
Just remind me. But I'm curious whether board games have that, and then is this like, depending on how this game works, would this be the answer? Like,
I don't know. You think maybe that's maybe that's what you do? Is that's why you don't have to read any rules, because it's a Where's Waldo page, and you go, I need some medicine.
Well, I probably maybe during the day and stuff, and then there's like a choose your own adventure book, and like it'd be like, if 5 people are here, go turn to page 6. If someone doesn't have food, turn to page 5.
I didn't even think about that possibility. That's really interesting.
I mean, we've had a lot of fun with the Tales of Arabian Nights.
Right.
We haven't had a chance to play Agent into Smersh, thank you. But we have it, and I'm dying to get a chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of being able to do that, I don't think it's too hard to explain. If something says turn to page this,
I guess
I think fits the idea of the surviving this, whether it's during or post-apocalyptic landscape, very nicely. If their moral choices are important, that definitely scratches that itch very well.
Although I have to think, just based on the designer, that there's got to be some element of...
Well, no, they said you can take it out and play it. They didn't say you can take it out and play it with every component.
Yeah, you think there's like a basic version?
Oh, I almost certainly do.
Or the other alternative
because
is...
I think that's actually a good method to do a basic version, because there's another game I have, not related in style, but it says it has a basic version to teach general rules.
Right. A lot of games have that, yeah.
Right, that says it takes 10 to 15 minutes. So if this has a basic version that you could sort of go out and play, especially if you know people aren't gonna, understand games, but then has more advanced stuff, because like we played Theseus and like there's like traps you can set and stuff and like things.
It's possible that that's cheating also, but maybe it's just like everything's written on the board for you, so it's like the rules are just there, so it's like piece starts here, and then you like draw a card and it tells you exactly where to go or something.
That's not bad, depending on how it looks. Like, some boards I've seen do a great job at that. It looks nice and clean. Like, I think when we were playing the, what was the one? Kickstarter you back with the train heist.
Train heist?
Is it actually
called Train Heist.
Wow. I wasn't sure. But, like, that actually had everything written on the board nicely. And also, like,
Right.
But then I've seen other boards which make it look cluttered. Mm-hmm. So it's very curious to see what they do.
You don't want it to be like Life, where every space says go
go
here.
I don't want it to be just opening a board and there really isn't a board, it's just the whole text.
You don't ever have to open a rule book, because the board is a rule book. Anyway, but the video game is pretty cool, and I'm very curious.
How much have you played of it?
No, like 2 or 3 hours. It's an indie game, so it's not like...
I mean, it's not like you didn't just start it.
No, I've decent
Have you enjoyed
familiarity
it?
with it. Yeah, it was fun. It's fun. It gets hard. It gets very tough because managing stuff. It's hard. Also, I don't know if this is. I assume it's co-op, but I don't know.
I could see it being going both ways.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting if
like
you
Dead
actually.
of Winter, maybe.
Well, no, I was thinking more like you actually all manage your own houses, so then you have to decide whether like you could raid other
Could be
people
that.
secretly or something.
Yeah, based on the game because you control multiple people. So,
Right,
but
but that's designed with one person in mind.
Could go
not
either way.
A board game with fur.
I don't know.
Who knows?
So that's this war of mine. That's we're gonna take out of the world of digital games and back into the world of actual, real, physical products.
Of paper and cardboard.
So this is a weird one.
Okay.
So Fantasy Flight.
I know of them.
Well, they have these Game of Thrones games they like to publish.
Really?
Yeah, they do. There's a chime in the background telling us it's time for Game of Thrones talk. Well, they're coming out with the new Game of Thrones, but it's a little bit different from what you're used to. It is a trivia game.
So it's just like those regular like 20. What's it? What are they
Trivial
called?
Pursuit?
Trivial Pursuit.
Well, there's actually some interesting things about it.
Okay.
First of all, I mean, I just thought it was weird that Fantasy Flight is making a trivia game. It does not seem like something in their wheelhouse at all. It is based on the HBO show specifically, not any of the books or anything like that. And the first 4 seasons in particular. And the first thing that I think is actually pretty cool, they have the questions divided by season, so that if someone hasn't seen season 4 yet, you can actually separate them out so that no one gets spoiled on anything, or if they just don't know the answers to those questions. And then it's almost like an area control game, where you have to go around to different parts of the board and answer questions in each place to like have control over it. And then there's also things where if you answer a special question, you might receive an item that will get you like a character from the show, will give you a special ability to use. So it is kind of like they fantasy flighted a trivia game.
I'm sorry. Now I just imagine just like. In one of the spaces like card, you may not pass unless you can tell me who died on episode 6 of season 3.
It's like that. It's exactly like that. Which is kind of cool. I'll admit, when I first read it, I was like, well, I don't have any interest in a trivia game, but they made it sound kind of cool. I don't know. Like, I don't think I've seen up to that many seasons of Game of Thrones. That's why they have them separated out. It's perfect.
No, the separate out is a good, very good idea.
Yeah, that's cool. I'd never heard of that.
It still just sounds like I don't know if have you played a Trivial Pursuit?
Oh, of course.
So you know how you have to answer like an orange question, a green question.
Yeah.
It still sounds like that to me.
Yeah,
Like
but
you just-
it is. But I mean, there's only so much you can do with the trivia
Right, no.
game. That's what I think what they did is pretty cool. That they.
I'm curious to see more of it, to see what they did to
But you also don't have
make
to
it stand out from the regular Trivial Pursuits and other trivia games.
Yeah. Well, I think what's going to make it stand out is that it's about Game of Thrones.
I know, well, I mean, outside of just here's a trivia game about insert product.
I don't think that if you're looking for the revolution, you're not going to find it.
No, you
here.
made it sound like as if there's like actually more
Well,
to it
I
besides
thought what
answering
I already
questions.
said sounded cool. I guess I oversold it a little bit.
Just a little, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. For a
But
trivia game, I thought it sounded cool.
I guess it's great if you're a fan because, like you said, you can separate the questions to prevent people who are behind because we're always behind.
Every conversation I've ever heard about Game of Thrones ends with one person saying, "Nope, haven't seen that one yet. I'm only this far," and then the conversation ends. So this game is tailor-made for those people. But
so what if you're like me? You've only seen like the first few episodes of season
then
1.
you have
can
to
you
leave.
Can you just like it says this is like 5 questions? Like okay,
there's nothing that can be done for you. Sorry. So one more. This is another weird news thing that is coming from Angry Joe, YouTube personality. I don't know if you actually heard of him or not.
Do not know.
He's a pretty popular YouTube video game reviewer and stuff. And he has announced that he is working on a board game that's going to be, again, launched on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard about this, though.
Maybe you did. And what's cool about it is that it involves 3 major licenses, major properties.
Angry Beavers, Rugrat. No.
I wish. It is, in fact, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Dragon Ball Z. Again, this is a scenario where we know very little about the game. We've seen this image of this prototype, but nothing about the gameplay really. But that's pretty crazy that this guy managed to wrangle the licenses for these
Dude,
three.
does he actually have the licenses?
Yeah, he has that. He's not. This isn't. He didn't just make this up. The Kickstarter is coming out, and he is official. It's official. These licenses will be involved in this board game.
Well, it sounds
It's a fighting game, like where you can fight with all three.
Well, the thing is, it sounds very funny to me. The idea behind it sounds very similar to what Level 99's Exceed wanted to be.
Right.
So I'm like, so...
They sort of scooped him on that one. That's pulled the rug out from underneath there.
Yeah, the problem
took
is
some of the thunder away.
He's got the properties.
No, I meant he scooped them. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Because they went for low, not as well known, at least from what I know, properties.
Right.
But he went for the three biggest sort of fighting.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think that Exceed will suffer because Level 99 still has a big following, but it's pretty crazy, and I really want to know the story of, like, how do you even go about approaching those companies and.
Well, what's his YouTube? Have you watched any of his videos?
I've seen like one or two. I had not really, but
because that's usually helpful.
Yeah, I guess he has that in a little bit. I mean, at least for the video game properties, Dragon Ball Z is a little different, especially because that's Japanese, and well, I guess you deal with Funimation or whoever it is that does that.
Yeah, things get weird when you bring her to another country, because I know like how there's certain Shonen Jump games that are available in Japan but not here because the shows are owned by different companies and they all don't want to share. So
right. But anyway, that's crazy. I'd be happy with just a good Dragon Ball Z game. I don't know about. I don't really have any. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, I don't have any nostalgia for, really. I didn't grow up with those games.
I'm more curious to see the mix.
Yeah.
And the other thing, that reminds me actually the other thing that I'm very curious about how he got the license from. Because I know Cryptozoic has Street Fighter. So how...
Right. It's probably one of those things where it's card game versus board game. Also, they haven't done anything with Street Fighter besides the deck building game, correct?
Yeah, but
so
I
maybe
feel like
they
this kind of
specifically
hold on to,
on a game-by-game basis. It might have been like that. Because like that in Naruto.
Copyright laws are weird.
I mean, obviously he'd got the rights, so. But yeah, so that's coming out. That's going to be launching sometime next year. But it's kind of insane. That's our crazy news that we caught up on for you. I hope y'all liked it. Of course, we still have some Kickstarters that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Some olds, I think both old, really. But maybe you haven't heard about them or you haven't heard us discuss them. So what's the one you're talking about?
Well, the one I'm talking about is actually called Drink.
Oh.
It's from Cherry Picked Games, and the game itself is pretty simple. You all get cards and you keep hitting. They'll say like when someone scratches their head, and then someone uses that, you point and say drink.
So it is a drinking game.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
And they have to drink. And the point is you're sort of trying to guess what other people's cards are. So let's say you notice me keep pointing out, then you say scratching your head, and then I show it, you get it, and then I get a new card though. So it's more of a social game you do like the way it's presented is a social game if you just hang out drinking and then you point and drink. But I think this would actually work really well if, like, at the beginning of a game night, we all get a card or something, and while we're playing board games or something. So, like, also because I would throw in like, I'm playing, wait, what am I doing? Crud! And, like, you're in the middle of a turn, you're like, okay, what did I do? Did I flick a card? Did I, like...
But turn any game into a drinking game, essentially.
Well, not every game, but more like it could last throughout the game night.
Well,
of course you could.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. So it's not... You're not out when someone guesses your card. It's just like whoever gets the most points or something.
It's this. You know how like Cards Against Humanity and Apples to Apples is just
right. You kind of the cards. No, it's a very funny idea.
Because it reminded me a lot of the game that's why I mentioned it playing while playing games. The game you backed, Pretense.
Pretense from Button Shy Games, which is another like a wallet sized. Yeah, it definitely sounds, and I think it sounds like a perfect thing for a drinking game because. Yeah, it's always good to have an element of physicality involved in it. That usually adds something to it as opposed to just drinking for no reason. If you want people to laugh and act like idiots, that's the best way to go about it. And I guess I'm sure you can use any type or denomination of alcohol that you desire.
I don't recall specific. It always depends on your group because some people only drink beer, some people only drink mixed drinks. I mean, why force someone into one or the other?
Yeah, well, because you're a cruel dictator, like Hitler.
Oh, is this supposed to be a segue?
That was a segue. Or you think I'm just a weird guy who drops Hitler references, which sometimes I do.
It's true. He likes to drop
the other game that I'm going to talk about, you've probably heard of it. It's called Secret Hitler and it comes from the guys behind Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, of course.
Another good one, another good segue there. So this is basically a Resistance-style game, a bluffing, hidden rolls game in the vein of Resistance or Werewolf. And the weird thing is that one person is Hitler. And there's two teams, the liberals and the fascists.
Okay.
And the liberals and the fascists are trying to basically get certain laws enacted. And all the while, like I think it's every round or so, you elect someone as chancellor. Mm-hmm. And if Hitler ever gets elected as chancellor, then the fascists win. So everyone's trying to figure out which person is Hitler.
And never let them get voted in.
Right, exactly. And Hitler wants the liberals to be on his side, so they vote for him and trick him. And then there's some other stuff that's different about it where there's a lot more cards that let you do things like look at people's cards, and there is player elimination in this, but it's more like coup, where by the time you get eliminated, the game will probably be almost over. So it's not as much of a downside. At least they claim that.
They claim.
So I bring this up more as a discussion point because part of me feels like at this point this game is almost like pandering to me, because it's just like, oh, hidden rolls and Hitler's in it. That's funny. But I think I'm a little jaded at this point of these kinds of, especially Cards Against Humanity, like joke offensive style games. So I feel like even though I would enjoy this game, I'm almost sure I would. Part of me is almost a little like offended, but not by the content, but by like.
No, you have no problem with Hitler.
Yeah, but it's like I said, I feel like I'm being pandered to. Like they know that I'm gonna like this.
Well, at one point I understand what you're saying. At the other point, you're sort of living in a media where that's all it. You like Star Wars, so if you like Star Wars, you love getting pandered to.
Well, okay, that's a little.
I feel like half the time Star Wars is like new trailer, and like. That's all. Like,
I don't think
nerd
that's the same
culture
thing.
just loves pandering. I feel like we love when when one trailer goes out, we love looking for every little scene by scene
But
thing.
I don't think. I think that's a separate subject. That's a fan doing that on their own, not someone else. I think this is different because it's not an existing property. It's I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, my gripe is that it feels like they said, hey, the Resistance is popular. What if we just put something funny as a coat of paint on it without really working that hard on something new or interesting that I haven't seen before?
You mean like when deck building happened?
Why has he got to shoot me down for everything?
Because it's just such a common practice. When something becomes very popular, they're sort of going to go with it. This company, which you said did Cards Against Humanity, they're known for being like, oh, look, it's offensive, ha.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I can't not like it.
I know, I'm just saying, it's sort of like, you can't blame them.
I guess I can, I am. It's exactly what I'm doing. I don't know, that's just how I feel about it.
I mean, look at Cards Against Humanity, it's not some revolutionary big thinking game.
Well, I don't really like Cards Against Humanity.
I know, but like, it's what they take a simple product and an idea and they just add it on, like make it silly and offensive.
But what, I'm not allowed to say I don't like something because I should expect to not like it?
I'm just saying, don't be shocked by it.
I didn't say I was shocked. I didn't even say I think it's terrible. I just think it's an interesting, like, almost line they're walking. At least for me, where at least for me, I'm getting tired of this genre of game where, first of all, I think we're in a glut of bluffing games and hidden roll games. I think that is reaching its peak rapidly, like the same way Zombies has been already, and Cthulhu, and then the other thing with the offensive stuff. I think both of those, it's both of those genres that I like, and they're putting them together. But I've just seen them so much lately that I don't know if I do
think one of the things I've seen with you is you get very angry when something becomes extremely
I'm
popular.
not angry. I want to be clear. I'm angry because you think I'm angry. I'm just stating my opinion.
But what happened is both of these became extremely popular mechanics. And what happened is, look, in particular, I'm sticking right now with the offensive one first.
Okay.
Is with that one, you've seen it on Kickstarter. We've seen hundreds of Kickstarters. Seem like people just said, like, here's another offensive card game.
Right,
and
usually they fail because there's nothing inventive behind them.
Right. Like, at least with the bluffing one, usually we've seen it come from people who try to at least make it look interesting or fun. Like, it's because it's a mechanic. When the other thing is just, here's something insulting. It's funny.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I guess.
I mean, I will say this isn't exactly. I mean, you know, at its core, it's the word Hitler. You can't help but be offended people a little bit.
Well,
but,
this is probably the only company that can get away with it.
well, but it isn't. But in their defense, it isn't like Cards Against Humanity, where like a joke card is Hitler. It does, like, the humor really comes from what you bring to the table, the fact that somebody is Hitler. The setting itself is really just kind of a World War II setting, but you know, and then it's sort of like just the tone and art style that maybe a little bit pushes it in that direction.
Well, I also haven't seen the art style for this, so
Well,
I don't know if
not-
they did it more like,
it's not like
you know how One Night Werewolf is more cartoony.
it's sort of like that. It's sort of like that.
Okay.
It's not exploding kittens though. It's not.
No.
It's not wacky and weird. Anyway, I don't know. Clearly, this is a hot, divisive issue. I'm sure this game's been
And yet we
funded
didn't
3
talk about the
times
fact
over.
of whether being board games or not, which I find hilarious.
Of course, you should. That's not up for debate. But you can let us know what you think, what your decision is on that game, or anything else we talked about by leaving a comment, which I mentioned because we do have just a quick comment that I will get to right now.
If he can find it.
This comment comes to us from our good friend Falcon Ash K.
Of course.
He's got some stuff. First of all, we were talking about, we mentioned World of Warcraft for some reason on the last podcast, and we were saying, what if there was a World of Warcraft board game, and it slipped our minds, because we talked about this before on the show, that, you know, Fantasy Flight did have their World of Warcraft card game
Right.
a while ago, so that does exist. That's one correction. Also had some good suggestions for holiday gifts.
Ooh.
Ones that specifically will fit in stockings, which is always good. Love Letter, Epic card game, which we did mention.
Yep.
Star Realms, Zombie Dice, or my personal favorite recommendation, a Roll for Crit gift card, which technically will fit anywhere because it's digital. It takes up 0 space, no mess.
No, it takes probably
no
a couple
clutter.
bites.
Maybe a couple bites. But that's a good point to cheaply remind people that we have that holiday gift guide up. And I do also want to plug, we also put up very recently an interview with Mike Canavan for this thing called Gaming Vacations from Icarus Tours that we think is really cool, that we're kind of helping to co-promote. So
That actually would be another great gift if you have a family just to get this vacation deal, which if you want to know more about, you should watch the interview.
yeah, we'll put a link to that, and it's really cool. And you can check out IcarusTours.com. It's a cool gaming thing, and we have a promotion code, Roll for Crit, so you can get a discount. But check it out; it's a big vacation package. And also, this is now officially the month in which Star Wars is being released, and we put up our first of 3 Star Wars playbacks for the month, which was X-Wing.
Yep.
So we'll let you guess which ones are coming up in the future. But you don't want to miss those.
No, you don't.
It's good. Anyway, any other random things you want to yell about board game wise, or are we done?
Well, not really. I think it's a lot of exciting about to see what we say in the Star Wars games, so I'll watch that. In particular, I think it's definitely the first one. We said X-Wing is interesting because, as we said in the video, it's our first sort of dip into the miniatures game, and one that's also very popular. So in particular, you might have even played it, and you can watch us be complete idiots.
That's why most people watch our videos.
But it'll be very interesting to see what the other ones are, and also then to actually compare some of them, because as spoilers, they're all owned by Fantasy Flight.
Yeah, a little thing there, little mention.
But throughout the month, of course, don't forget, like we said, we have a site where we sell all these games. Like you said, some of these stocking stuffers would be great, including like things like Munchkin Stocking Stuffer, which I do actually think some of the games that are stocking stuffers are probably some of my favorite games because they're small and light and usually good ways to trick people in the board games.
For sure, and if you are getting something for Christmas, you make sure you do it in the next week or two because the date's coming up, so you want to make sure you get it in time from us.
And of course, if you just aren't sure yet, that's a great place to see where we'll post news, the videos like we mentioned before, some of our reviews, some of you explaining the rules in very hilarious manners and saving whales. And of course, leaving comments, whether here, through Twitter, through our email, rollforcrit.com, at gmail.com.
Right.
rollforcrit@gmail.com. I said the website first, then I forgot the email. And of course, at rollforcrit for our Twitter handles or personal Twitters.
Like us, favorite us, follow us, subscribe to us.
We'll read them just like we did right now. And we'd love to hear if you actually want us to play another game, like if there's a game you're not sure about and want us to do a playback. Because if it's very useful, so you can just, instead of explaining the rules, like, here, people, just watch this video. Which we found is actually very useful for our own
Yeah, we use it for ourselves as well.
Which is really funny. But for now, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and you have been watching a very special Roll for Crit podcast.